It's the What's on My Bookshelf show. Yeah, the What's on My Bookshelf show. Back on the scene. Fifth shelf. We gotta have a light here because it's kind of low down. We're back after a long hiatus with episode 5 of What's on My Bookshelf. This is the Nokara completely solar powered light. This thing is being manufactured $5 a piece. It's out there in Africa, allowing people to have light in Africa who are living off the grid. A friend of a friend manufactures them. I can get you a deal on them, $5 each. Unless you want to buy 1,000,000, you can lower the price. Anyways, getting off track already because that's what we do here. I'm gonna start off. This is the paperback shelf, so it's smaller. Start off with a hardcover. There's a hardcover on the paperback shelf. Barnes Primary History of the United States. This is a trip. I have no idea where I got it. The American Book Company, New York, Cincinnati, and Chicago. It's the most bullshit propaganda version of American history I've ever seen. I'm going to read from it. It's a trip. It's just history, I guess. Moby Dick, American classic. Kind of a allegory for Christianity. I like it. I like Moby Dick. Actually, I like the beginning and the end of Moby Dick. The middle, I mean, how many chapters do you need on like how to debone a whale and freaking how to melt its skin down and all that? It just gets a lot of just boring technical shit in the middle. It's cool though. There's some cool shit. Another good paperback. Neuromancer, William Gibson. This guy kind of started the whole, this is what The Matrix is loosely based on, actually. A mind bender of a read. This guy really started that type of sci-fi, matrixy, what am I trying to say? Where you're like plugged into some kind of network, science fiction thriller thing. That's him, William Gibson. It's a pretty famous book, actually. Neuromancer. You should check it out. Whoa! There goes flying. Well, we'll put that back later. Got an older copy of The Hobbit. This one's sweet. It's just a nice, clean Ballantine version. Look at that cover. Sweet. It's The Hobbit. Enough said. It's got yellow pages too, so that's pretty tight. Sorry. Just in the phone there. It's giving me a battery warning. This is one of the many Hardy Boys books that I used to own, and I think there's a whole bunch still in my parents' garage, but this one was the rare Detective Handbook. This was the last one in the series, and it teaches you shit, dude. About how to like take fingerprints, and there were some short stories in it too, but then it had all this like, look at this, drug abuse, high danger. Detective Handbook for all you detectives out there. Here's Authentic Life of Billy the Kid by Pat F. Garrett. This was Garrett's book. Garrett wrote a book on killing the kid, and this is real history. Super like exaggerated, and if you read the history of this book, he stole some other people's stories and added them in as his story. But that's Garrett. I like the movie, the Sam Peckinpah movie, Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid. Mainly, you got to get the right version of that too, or you're screwed. You got to get the Turner Collection version, which is basically Peckinpah's cut. Again, this isn't a movie review, so we're not going to go into that, but that's why I have that book, because I like that movie. The Marriage of Heaven and Hell, in full color. William Blake. William Blake is badass. If you don't know, you know, get down on it. But this is his original. Can you see with the light here? Yeah. This is Heaven and Hell. Boom. I love that. Love it, love it, love it. Oh, we skipped one. Ooh, $100 Misunderstanding. Robert Gover. Celebrated novel. This one's pretty cool. It kind of reminds me of like a Cassavetes movie almost. It's about this pimp and this prostitute, and real good like classic vernacular from like the 40s or the 50s. I can't quite remember. I read it a long time ago, but it remains in the collection. Spanish grammar, good travel size. Barron's, #1 choice in language guides, whatever. Taiwatani World Atlas. It's a Thai World Atlas. Standard atlas of the world. Some of this stuff's kind of dry, you know, it's the paperback shelf, so. Canterbury Tales. Canterbury Tales is pretty sick. All these people meet at this inn, and they all tell stories. And the cool thing about Canterbury Tales is there's tales within tales within tales. You're telling a story about some people who sit down and tell a story, and then in that story someone falls asleep and has a dream, and then it goes back to, oh, this was just a dream that was going on in this story, and then it's like, oh, this story was just a story being told at these two guys at an inn, but it all goes back to all these travelers that have met at this inn and are just exchanging stories. It's a great book. Greg Ian Diaspora. This is also kind of like a Super 6 science fiction, but it very matrixy also written back in the mid 80s, kind of ahead of its time with all that plugging your brain into the network and all that. This is one of my favorite Joseph Campbell books, Myths to Live By: How We Recreate Ancient Legends in Our Daily Lives to Release Human Potential. It's a good one, and it's got a sick Indian looking bird on the cover. If I really knew my shit, I'd know who that was, but I don't. Lord Jim, by far my favorite Conrad book. I read this one when I was really young, and then reread it a couple times when I was older, and was able to understand it better, but Lord Jim is a wild book, dude. Best Conrad book there is. Get down on it. Bernal Diaz. Whoa! Intruder. Bernal Diaz. This is... It's funny, because I was just having an Easter celebration tonight and talking with a great aunt about Bernal Diaz. She's all into the Conquest. I'm all into the Conquest. I mean, we're not into the Conquest. We both agree that the Conquest was kind of shitty, but an interesting time period to read about. This guy was like with Cortez when Cortez took over Mexico City, killed Montezuma and all that, and Cortez wrote his book, and then this guy wrote his book and said, you know what, Cortez is kind of full of shit and kind of pompous, and this is what really happened. But they essentially kind of tell the same story. This is like the anti-Cortez version, but still, it's a good one. You should read that. This one doesn't fit on the shelf, but this is Hermann Hesse, Journey to the East. Fascinating little short book about the journey to the East. And oh man, I'm going blank. I'm trying to remember the name of the group he was in, but it's about this group. Get down on that. Sick little book. You could read it like in one sitting. This is an old classic, and I don't even think this is in print. The Complete Guide to Middle Earth, and it was Robert Foster. Look at that, dude. Let me tap the focus. That's some old school Lord of the Rings, like the glossary at the end, but this is like everything you could possibly want to know, and it has all the Silmarillion stuff in it too. Just like the Grey Havens. Did you know they're also called the Havens of Mithlond? I didn't, and I read this book. Dude, I mean, I'm so glad I still have this. Cause, yeah, you could probably find it on Amazon anyways. What's this? Another Spanish dictionary. Let's pass by on that. And away. Pema Chodron. This is probably Pema Chodron's seminal work, When Things Fall Apart. Do you know who Pema Chodron? She's like a real famous American Buddhist and did a lot of writing. Heart Advice for Difficult Times. Join the Sangha. I don't know what to tell you. You should. Oh, this one got ripped. Because I've read this one so many times. This is The Idiot, Dostoevsky. Did you know that a long time ago, a lot of my passwords used to be versions of his name? Sometimes his first, sometimes his last name. That pretty much all went away after the Heartbleed virus, but so now I can say that. Great book. This Dostoevsky. He's the shit. Is this Dostoevsky too? Boom. Notes from the Underground is another sick book. I'm a sick man. I'm a lonely man. I think that's the opening lines to Notes from the Underground. The Double, I can't remember the Double. I think it's a short story. Russian literature. Fascinating stuff. Got this brass turtle. It's kind of in the way, so I'm going to move him over here. Hamlet, old copy. Look at this. Larger type for easy reading with mildew on it. Yes. Prince of Denmark. Hamlet's sick. Talk to his pops. Skull. I'm not giving you a review on Hamlet stuff. Another Hess book, Narcissus and Goldmund. Fabulous book about a traveler and a lover of life and a pious man who are friends and whose paths cross like 3 different times throughout their life. I like Narcissus and Goldmund. It goes through the plague, the Great Plague in Europe. Man, that's a sweet book actually. Hess is an amazing writer. Good old Herman. I don't know where my Sid Arthur is. I have a Sid Arthur somewhere. Damn, Marshall McLuhan, The Gutenberg Galaxy. I could talk about this for hours. By far another one of the most difficult books I've ever read. This fucker just assumes that you've read every book in the Western world and he references them all in here. But he basically talks about the printing press being the seminal like turning point for the way the human mind works, and God, it's been a while since I read it, but he was, the electronic universe was his whole thing. Cool and hot media. Hot media would be things like active media, like print. The printed word would essentially be hot media, and cool media would be passive, accepting like more like painting and cinema, for example. I'm getting off topic here and I'm not really explaining this very well at all, but the Gutenberg Galaxy, what the fuck's the back say? With the invention of the printing press, Western civilization was radically altered. Now, with the increasing dominance of electronic media, an equally far-reaching revolution is taking place. The radical nature of these changes, wrought on the individual psyche and the social organism, is explored boldly and brilliantly in a book essential to understanding the man hailed as the most dynamic and relevant thinker on the scene today, Marshall McLuhan. So that didn't really help the situation much, but it is a wholly indispensable book, according to the University of Toronto. I found it interesting. I just read it because I heard this whole like 3-hour talk by Terence McKenna on Marshall McLuhan, and it tripped me out. It's called Riding the Range with Marshall McLuhan. You could type that into YouTube and you'll probably get a better idea of what the fuck the guy was all about than trying to trudge your way through this book. So anyways, we are coming up on, put my another Spanish dictionary back, but coming up on the last shelf, and then I'm not sure where we're going to go. We're going to possibly explore some other people's shelves. So until next time, it's the What's on My Bookshelf show. Yeah, the What's on My Bookshelf show.